All right, Bruce, this is it.
I know.
This is your life.
This is where it all started, right here on Constitution Plaza, Scott.
I can't believe it's been
43 years.
43 years.
43 years. It's hard to believe.
And that was with the Travelers Weather Service.
Yeah, the Travelers Weather Service, which with Channel 3. And you know, it all started with Charlie Bagley back in the fall of 1978.
And that's where he hired you. This is where he hired you.
He hired me right on Constitution Plaza, right on the north end of the plaza. There's so much history that happened in the building that was once here, Scott.
So many different things, from floods to storms to
all the people that we worked with over the years.
Winter storms where I stood on the corner. Remember they used to send me out there?
Yep, absolutely. I used to have to go up on the rooftop and do the weather from there.
So how many years were you in this building? My goodness gracious, over 30.
Well, you know, it started when I was 22, and that was the fall of 1978. And when I was with the Travelers Weather Service, I still had to come over to Channel 3 and do weekend weather. I split it up with Ken Gary. He did one weekend, I did the other. And when the Travelers Weather Service went out of business in 1984, then Channel 3 picked me up full time to create an in-house weather office. And that's when I was working with Hilton and Charlie Bagley and Jim McDonald, Ken Gary, all those names from the past. And you know, there's just so many more people that I worked with over the years. I could literally write a book of names of all the people behind the scenes and in front of the camera that I worked with.
Oh my God, behind the scenes, so many people, and in front of the camera, so many people.
So many people. When I started out at Channel 3, the weekend team, I was doing weekends at the time. I did weekends for 14 years. The weekend team was Pam Cross and Bob Newmeyer. Then we had Jim Hanley and Candy Keefe. And at one point in time, believe it or not, the weekend team was me, and I had the honor to work with Gail King and Jerry Brooks. That was the weekend team.
That's unbelievable.
And then so many more names along the way. I mean, you talk about Don Lark, Pat Sheehan, Al Terzi. I love Al Terzi. Just an amazing guy who taught me so much. Like I said, Jim Hanley, you name it, all the way up to our current anchors, you know, Mark Zinni and Aaron Connolly.
Well, let's take a walk over to the Travelers Weather Service where the building was, and we're going to see where you first started.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you were, again, 22. And where'd you go to high school? You went to high school in Connecticut.
Windsor High School.
Windsor High School.
Yep.
Class of? I don't want to date you.
The class of 1974.
1974, and then you went to school in Mass?
I did. It was in Lowell, Massachusetts. It started out as Lowell Technological Institute. You know, big engineering school up in northeastern Massachusetts. Then it changed to, another college merged with Lowell Tech and became the University of Lowell. So that's my official graduating college back in 1978.
And you studied meteorology?
Studied meteorology, yep. All that calculus and physics that we all have to go through. But then it was right here on Constitution Plaza where, you know, I hooked up with the Travelers Weather Service. It was kind of good timing. You know, my career has been not only hard work, but some luck as well. There was a guy by the name of Jerry Wilson who worked for the Travelers Weather Service. And keep in mind, it was a very small outfit.
Yeah.
He was the first person to leave in 10 years.
Wow.
So that opened up a spot for me right as I was graduating from school.
That's serendipitous.
So Charlie hired me in 1978, but he started full-time on January 1st, 1979.
Incredible.
Yep, long time ago.
Long time ago. Bruce, so many things happened here on Constitution Plaza. We have Spree's, the restaurant behind us, which was formerly Gail King's studio.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. You know, at Christmas time, Santa Claus would come down to the side of this building right here. We would have the big carol singing with Hilton.
Thousands and thousands of people would turn out.
Thousands. And then we'd have the Taste of Hartford, all the food booths, the smells that were on here on Constitution Plaza.
And we'd come out here with our little headshots, and some people would be gracious enough to ask for an autograph, which was so nice.
It was so nice. It was really nice working right in downtown Hartford. We saw so many nice people coming out here on the plaza, and it was just a tremendous place to work with all the history of Broadcast House.
Yep.
And you know, really, my career started with radio, believe it or not, because when I was hired at the Travelers Weather Service, Charlie had me do radio, and I got to work on air with Bob Steele. There's a name out of the past. Bob, God rest his soul, was a legend in the broadcast industry. He lasted 50 years, I believe, and commanded a huge amount of the audience on TIC AM.
Yep.
And I would sit there, and with the Travelers Weather Service years, we would do these 5-minute broadcasts at 25 past the hour. And I was so afraid I would mispronounce a word because Bob was a real
stickler. Exactly.
Yeah, and he caught me a few times, but I learned a lot from him because back then, he really cared a lot about the English language, and if I mispronounced something, I heard about it.
Exactly.
But it was great. I mean, you talk about a legend in the radio industry. It was Bob Steele, and of course Charlie Bagley and Bob Steele. What a team that was on TIC AM.
All right. So Bruce, you and I have been working together for 23 years.
Absolutely.
Ships that pass in the night, but we see each other constantly.
I know. Usually we communicate by notes.
By notes, exactly, which is incredible. Now tell us that funny story when we first started working together.
Well, 23 years when we're working together. It's right in that, what used to be Channel 3, right here on Constitution Plaza. When you started, was what, 1998?
1998, Hilton had just left.
Hilton had just left, and the anchor team in the morning was David Nelson and Ellie Pai Hong.
Yeah.
And I was doing the weather. And then all of a sudden, as I'm doing the weather, you come right into the shot and plop a clementine peel right into my hand. And I said, Scott, you know what I like about this clementine? It has a peel.
Ching.
David Nelson and Ellie Pai Hong just burst out laughing. But I mean, those are just a few of the many incidents.
Well, you are the king
times.
You are the king of the puns.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Give us one clean one.
Oh my gosh, a clean one? Okay. Why did the ram go off the cliff?
I don't know.
Didn't see the U-turn. That's just one of countless puns. Just one of many.
Bruce, talk to me about probably your proudest accomplishment at the station.
Well, honestly, Scott, it's something that doesn't happen too often. I've been in the same market, Connecticut. I've been a Connecticut weather forecaster for 43 years.
43 years.
And as far as Channel 3 goes, I'm the longest serving anchor that Channel 3 has ever had.
Which is pretty remarkable.
37 full-time years. Yes, thank you. And then you take into account the Travelers Weather Service years. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really proud of.
Bruce, Travelers Weather Service behind us. We just saw Constitution Plaza where the building used to be.
Yep.
What does Channel 3 mean to you?
Oh my gosh, well, it all started right in that northeast corner of Constitution Plaza back in '78. And that's when I graduated from college in 1978, and then Charlie Bagley hired me as a part-timer in the fall of 1978, which is exactly 43 years ago. So I got to work not only with Charlie Bagley, he was the managing director of the Travelers Weather Service, but great minds like Ken Gary, who was also on Channel 3, Jim McDonald as well. And these guys were smart. Jim was he graduated from, oh my gosh, MIT. He graduated from MIT. Bill Mammon went to Penn State, did a 3-year program, 3 years, meteorology program, and 3 years on a golf scholarship.
Wow.
And Ken Gary was Menzo, which is what, the top 90 or top 5%. And there was John Erickson. So they are the guys that kind of brought me from the world of academics to the real world of weather forecasting.
I thought you were smart.
Well, I would like to think I'm smart, but these are guys that really started me off in my career and taught me how. But initially it was radio. It was all radio and operational forecasting for gas companies and you name it. And then one day Charlie says, you know what? I'm going to put you on the noon show. Because Charlie liked to play golf, and on a nice day, he'd rather play golf than do the noon show. So he got me, I got thrown on air on Channel 3, and it was like, I would love to have that tape. That would be a good blooper.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
But it all started, back even before I joined Channel 3 full time. But when I did, in 1984, I worked with so many great people. Dick Ollis, who was news director back then, was so nice to me. I said, I like to think of this as a career, a move instead of just a sidestep career going from Travelers Weather Service to Channel 3. So he hired me, and he was so kind, and I worked with so many great people. Channel 3 to me means legends. Working with legends. I mean, I could write a book about the names that I work with.
So I'm going to rattle off some names. Just give me a couple of thoughts about each of them. Pam Cross and Bob Newmeyer.
That was the weekend team when I first started.
Jerry and Gail. Jerry Brooks and Gail King.
I know. Can you believe it? That was the weekend team. Jerry, Gail, and Bruce was the weekend team at one point in time.
That's quite an astounding weekend team.
I know. I was really intimidated at that time because, oh my gosh, I'm working with Jerry Brooks and Gail King.
Candy Keefe and Jim Handley?
Yes, they were the weekend team too. I loved them. Candy was so nice, and Jim Handley, of course, I saw him not that long ago. He's doing great.
I think back on, for both of us, we've worked with quite a few teams.
We have, yeah. We started out with who?
I started out with Polly and Kerry.
Okay, and that was the morning team.
That was the morning team with you. Mornings. When you were with mornings.
And then after that, it was David Nelson.
It was just
and Ellie
on and on and on. And then talk to me about Denise.
Denise, she's like an angel on earth. You know, she meant so much to me, and I think we're all still in shock that she passed away. It's been nearly 2 years. Denise was, and this was especially true over the last few years, that she was alive, we became good friends. We often talked about, you know, retirement and spiritual things. You know, I just loved her. And one of my greatest joys, because, you know, me, I love puns, and so do you. One of my greatest joys was to make her laugh. Of course, you know, I would tell a pun during a commercial break. She would laugh, but her giggle, she had this really cute girlish giggle, and that was priceless. So that was one of my goals, is to just make her happy and make her laugh.
Talk to me about the relationship you have with your viewers.
My viewers, oh my gosh, they basically have kept us number one.
Yep.
For my entire career.
And they write in and they give us the temperatures and they let us know the snowfall totals.
Yep.
And they're just diligent.
Our weather watchers, and some of them have already passed on.
Art
Kale has passed on. He was a tremendous weather watcher from Bolton, Connecticut, but they mean so much to us because they're our eyes on the outside.
Yep.
And
they're our eyewitnesses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't do without them. You need people in the community to report to us and let us know what's going on, because we have Doppler radar and all that. You know, there's windows, but you need those people on the outside.
I know there's 1,000 of them. I've been through them with you. But your most memorable storm, the first one that pops into your head?
Well, I was still in college, believe it or not, my senior year, the blizzard of 1978, otherwise known as Blizzard Larry. That was the most memorable storm because I was up in Lowell, Massachusetts, where the cars in the parking lot of the school, you couldn't see a car. It was snow, a bump where the roof was, a little depression, and another bump where the roof was. That's when I was in my senior year. But then when I started with Channel 3, I guess my greatest forecast early on was Winter Storm Olaf in 1982. It was in April. Of course, you know, here I am on the noon show with Marlene Schneider, and I said, Marlene, I have bad vibrations about tomorrow. There's this Alberta Clipper coming, and it could dump a foot of snow. And here it is April. Who forecasts a foot of snow in April? Got 12 to 16 inches of snow the next day.
Unbelievable.
So that was like a cha-ching.
Olaf, Winter Storm Olaf.
Winter Storm Olaf.
Can you imagine those names?
What kind? I know. You know, that process started with the Travelers Weather Service back in 1971. We started naming storms simply because we wanted to name the most memorable ones. And when we named a storm, we meant business. It has to be a half foot of snow and or a half an inch of ice, like the big ice storm that we had back in 1973, which was Ice Storm Felix.
You love the weather.
Weather is my passion.
It is. It's really, your passion.
It really is my passion. I love weather forecasting. I love competing. I was very shy, and I still am, believe it or not. And it takes a lot for me sometimes to go on air. But I feel if I tell a good story about the weather and help people plan their life around the weather, it puts me at ease, and hopefully our viewers at ease as well. But I love the weather, and I love the challenge of weather forecasting and coming up with the best forecast I can possibly create. And you know, it's a very humbling business. There's been times when I'm wrong. You talk about 1982, that was a success. The next year, 1983, I was on TIC AM with Bob Steele, and I said there's a storm off the Virginia coast, and it's probably going to be blocked by high pressure over New England. The air is too dry. That afternoon, it was snowing at the rate of 4 inches an hour, and 21 inches in 16 hours. Blizzard Gordy, named after the hockey legend Gordie Howe. So it's a very humbling business, but the bottom line is I tried really hard, and I try to do as much as I possibly can for the viewers.
Exactly. All right, what are you going to do in your retirement?
You know, there's a lot. I'm going to be busier in retirement than I am working. Of course, you always hear I'm going to play golf, and I'm going to travel. Of course, all of our lives have been put on hold because of COVID, and we are going to travel. And I am going to take golf lessons, but I also want to learn a language. If we're going to go to France, why not learn French? I took French way back when. Or if we're going to go to Italy, why not learn Italian?
Yeah.
I took piano lessons many years ago. I want to reacquaint myself with the piano, and I love astronomy, so I'm going to probably do a little bit more with that. Of course, Cheryl and I, we're big gardeners, so that's a passion of ours is gardening and landscaping.
You got it all laid out.
Got it all laid out. There's no shortage of anything to do. I'm not worried about retirement whatsoever. It's just that I feel like I've accomplished everything I need to in my career. It's been a wonderful career. And some health issues have crept in over the past years. Of course, it was a wake-up call with Denise passing away. How could that happen to such a beautiful, healthy person who was young, still young?
Yep.
That was a wake-up call. Then last year I had a scare with a hernia that if I waited one more day, I might not be sitting here talking with you right now. The recovery was very fast and miraculous. And then, of course, COVID. Everybody was, stressed out over COVID. And, I've had some instances, quite honestly, during the 11 o'clock show this year where anxiety has crept in. And I would have to stop and take a deep breath on the 11 o'clock show because I was running out of air as I was talking. And it's really hard. It's very embarrassing. But there would be a time when I just ran out of air and I said, I have to stop and I have to take a moment and take a deep breath.
Yep.
So that was anxiety setting in, and that never used to happen to me. It doesn't happen on the early evening shows. I have it under control, but I think these are all signs that things are starting to catch up with me a little bit, even though I'm still very healthy and I feel great at age 65. But I think it's time. I think it's time to watch the snowflakes from home instead of those 14...
Instead of the flakes you work with.
You're not one of them, Scott.
Yeah. All right, last question.
Sure.
What are you doing on January 1st?
Okay, this is perfect because New Year's Eve is a Friday, right? And January 1st is a Saturday. So January 1st, I'm probably going to wake up and say, what did I do? It's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough because, we get into that groove and our whole life is geared toward preparing for work, going to work. Sometimes, you get up and say, oh my gosh, we're going to be on the air for 14 hours with a snowstorm, or there could be a tornado warning this afternoon. I won't miss that, even though I did it and I enjoyed keeping our viewers informed, but I'm not going to miss that too much.
Okay.
So January 1st, I'm going to be happy and sad all at the same time.
Well, it's a Saturday. I'll be over for breakfast.
Come on over. Cheryl will bake us a good breakfast.
All right,
you watch.
Good. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Scotty.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Love you, man.
Love you.
Mm-hmm. Love you, Scotty. Love you too. I'm going to miss you, man.
Stay healthy.